Okay, so let's just jump right in. We're living in this, well, it's a really fascinating contradiction, right? I mean, on one hand, you've got technology that moves at the speed of light. But then, on the other hand, the most powerful people and institutions on the entire planet, they're making this massive bet on an asset that's been around for literally thousands of years. And this really just puts it in black and white, doesn't it? I mean, we live in this hyper-modern world of quantum computing, AI that trades stocks faster than we can blink, and all these digital currencies popping up. And yet, the central bankers, the presidents, the kings, what are they doing? They're aggressively stacking bars of yellow metal in their vaults. It just feels old, right? It's so out of place. It's kind of like a spaceship captain who insists on using an ancient sextant to navigate the stars. It makes you wonder what they know that we don't. So that leads us right to the big question, the central mystery we're really going to unpack here. Why? Why in 2026 is there this global scramble for physical gold? I mean, this isn't just some weird little quirk. It's not some nostalgic fad. No, this is a calculated strategic move. And the core argument, what the sources are really getting at, is this. They know a secret. They have this fundamental belief that the paper money we all use every single day is becoming, well, fragile, and that when a real crisis hits, gold is the only asset that will never, ever go to zero. They literally see it as the world's ultimate reset button. Okay, so to really get why they believe this, we've got to take a quick trip back in time. Because the story of our money has this one critical turning point that, honestly, it explains pretty much everything. So for a long, long time, money was based on something called the gold standard. And the idea was actually super simple. Gold is heavy, it's hard to carry around, right? So governments would hold it for you in a super secure vault. In exchange, they'd issue these paper notes. Just think of them as tickets or maybe claim checks. And every single one of those tickets was a direct promise. It meant you could walk into a bank, hand over your ticket, and get a real physical piece of gold. Money wasn't just paper, it was literally a claim on treasure. And this is it. This is the moment everything changed. In 1971, that promise, it was broken. The United States came out and announced it would no longer trade its tickets, its dollars, for gold. And from that day on, money was no longer a claim check for actual treasure. It just became a piece of paper backed by, well, by a promise from the government. The whole system shifted from being about treasure to just being about a trust us signal. And, that one historical shift brings us directly to the problems so many of us are feeling today, right here in 2026. It's a problem that comes from what happens when that trust us system gets pushed to its absolute limits. So here's the issue. Since 1971, governments all over the world have printed, well, trillions upon trillions of new tickets. And when you dramatically, massively, increase the supply of anything, the value of each individual one has to go down. That's just basic economics. And that right there is the root of what we all call inflation. Let me give you a super simple way to think about this. Imagine back in the day, one ticket could buy you a chocolate bar. Easy enough. But because so many more tickets have been printed since then, you now need 2 or maybe even 3 tickets to buy that exact same chocolate bar. See, the chocolate hasn't changed at all, but the purchasing power of your ticket, it's been watered down, it's been diluted. And this very same dilution of trust is now playing out on the world stage. You've got major countries starting to look at each other and question the value of these paper promises, especially when the country that issued the promise is deeply in debt. They're basically saying, you know what? I can't trust a promise on a piece of paper. I need the real stuff. And so they're demanding their physical gold be returned to their own vaults. That's a process called repatriation. At the end of the day, they want the treasure, not the tickets. Okay, but here's where it gets tricky. This whole situation creates a kind of hidden danger for the rest of us, for everyday people. Because even if you listen to all this and decide, okay, I want some gold, you've got to be really, really careful. Because it turns out not all gold is created equal. Now, this next point, this is probably the single most important distinction in this entire breakdown. On one side, you've got real physical gold, the actual metal itself, something you can hold. But on the other side, you have what's called paper gold. Now, this could be a bank certificate, maybe an ETF, a futures contract. It's essentially just a promise from a bank that says you own gold. And this table here just lays it all out perfectly. It really breaks down the fundamental risk. With paper gold, you don't actually own the asset. You just own a bank's promise. And the biggest risk there is what's called counterparty risk. The
the risk the bank might fail to deliver on that promise. With physical gold, though, you own the treasure directly. The only real risk is just keeping it safe. So, when a crisis hits, that paper promise might just get you settled in cash, while the physical gold is the real thing. It's the difference between the ticket and the treasure.
And this is where we get to the potential shortage scenario. The argument here is that banks have issued way more paper claims to gold, more tickets, than they have actual physical metal in their vaults. So think about it. If a panic started and everyone rushed to demand their physical gold at the same time, the banks simply wouldn't have enough to go around. They'd have to default on their promise. And their solution? Cash settlement. They just hand you back your devaluing paper tickets, right at the very moment those tickets are losing their value the fastest. You end up with the promise, not the treasure.
So, the big question is, how do you avoid this trap? Well, according to the source material, the solution comes down to a really simple but powerful principle. It's all about taking personal control. And that principle is possession. The core idea is to build what the sources call a physical bridge. What does that mean? It means you take some of the wealth that just exists as digital numbers on a computer screen and you convert it into real, tangible assets that you can physically hold in your hand. Why? Because that is the only way to completely, 100% eliminate counterparty risk. The risk that someone else has promised you will be broken.
So the crucial point, and if you take away only one thing, let it be this. If you cannot touch it, you do not truly own it. It's that simple. This is what you could call the treasure rule for this new world. At the end of the day, it's about becoming your own central bank. And this is such a brilliant distinction to make about gold's specific role. See, it's not about getting rich, it's about staying rich. Think of gold as the shield. It's the king of defense. Its entire purpose is to preserve the wealth you already have. And the sources make a point to distinguish this from an asset like, say, silver, which they call the sword. Silver is this explosive asset with huge industrial demand that's needed for all our future tech, so it's used for more aggressive growth. Shield versus sword, two totally different jobs. And all of this brings us to one final thought. It's a really powerful thought experiment that the sources leave us with. Just ask yourself this. If all the computers in the world turned off tomorrow, if the grid went down and your credit cards just stopped working, what would you truly own? What of value would you actually have in your possession? It's a question worth its weight, well,